Done.
Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. This is our Thursday night study group for April. I forgot what day is April. April 11th, 2024. This is our 115th study group. I'm pretty proud of that. Tonight we're going to interview Katiya Plummer. She's going to talk about productivity at work. She's got some stuff that y'all are going to love. Our mission here is to lift up our BA community. If you have a need around business analysis, no matter what it is, we're here to help you. And if you don't have a chapter home, you're welcome to join our family. It doesn't matter where in the world you live. We've got people from all over the world in our chapter. One of the reasons for that may be because we don't charge for our study groups. We don't charge for our professional interviews. We don't charge for mentoring. We don't charge for anything. We are here to lift up our BA community. If you want to get better, we want to help you. So reach out to us. We've given you a variety of ways to reach out to us. We have our LinkedIn groups, Meetup, Zoom online, same address every week. Our study group materials, including attendance sheet and some materials that people have put together to help them study for their certification, are right there in Google Sheets. We have our meetings recorded on YouTube. We have over 100 there now, and we have our IIBA website. Watermark Learning has given us a discount code to share with you. It is Tampa Space 21, which will give you 20% off of any of their products. They have not only business analysis, but project management and a few other things. Classes, flashcards, practice test questions. It's all there for you at 20% off should you want it. We are a volunteer-led organization. Cliff is our president. Yulia is our vice president of finance. Vivian, Uche, Alicia, and Esther are our board members at large. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the vice president of career and professional development. It is my job to be here for you. So if you need user stories reviewed, if you need some understanding of any kind, I helped write the BABOK. I'm here to help you learn whatever you need to learn. And if I don't have the answer, I bet you I know somebody who does. We do have some advisors that we appreciate immensely. Yulia, Uche, and Bob are our CBAPs. One of them joining us gives you the ability to count this as an education hour credit. You have to have a certain number of education hours to be able to apply for your certification test. And so they're here so that you can get your education hour, and we do appreciate them deeply. I want to draw your attention to Bob's website, rpchurchill.com. On his website, not only does he have a huge amount of really good information, he also has a link to all of our recordings in YouTube. And he's gone through a huge amount of effort to put together a list so that if you're looking for, say, you want to know more about Chapter 4, we've done practice study questions on Chapter 4. We have 4 hours of them on there, and he has links to each one of those. For any of the techniques, we've gone through them at least twice. They're right there on rpchurchill.com. We like to celebrate the wins. These are the folks that have reached out that have said your study group is one of the reasons that we were able to pass. I have added the most recent one. Kennedy Davis has just passed her CBAP, and she posted on LinkedIn. We were one of the reasons she was able to pass, and so we really appreciate it. As I said, we don't charge money, but we do want to know whenever we've been beneficial to you, so reach out to us. Our certifications that we are helping you study for are the top 3, the IIBA, CCBA, and CBAP. These are the certifications based upon the BABOK. The BABOK is the manual, the book that tells us what we need to know to be good business analysts. The 4 certifications at the bottom are the advanced certifications to go for after you have earned your CBAP. If you need information on any of these, reach out to me. Today we have Katiya. She's going to talk about productivity at work, covering actionable strategies to enhance your productivity at work, whether in the office or remotely, digital workspace, mastering email management, setting boundaries. I'm really excited to hear her presentation today. Next week, we're going to have Hugo come talk to us about nearshore development. Hugo connects people here in the States to nearshore developers that he has in his arena. and he's going to talk about the benefits, the drawbacks, and things that we need to know. Some business analysts don't work with software development, but those of you who are wanting to get into it, you need to understand nearshore, offshore, and onshore development. Okay, I'm going to turn the screen over to Katiya, and Katiya, you can take it away as soon as I give up access.
All right, thanks, Thea.
There you go. I want to say before Katiya starts, I love seeing the familiar faces that come here every week. You guys are part of our family, and I'm so glad to see you. Okay, Katiya, take it away.
Thank you. All right, let me find the right screen. Okay, yeah. Everybody can see the presentation, right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Katiya. I'm going to talk about workplace productivity, but I don't want it to be just like a me talking to you. I would love participation. If there's like any particular parts of productivity or time management at work that you feel like you need help with or would want to talk about, please let me know. It could be in my presentation already, or I can talk about it. I'm also not just going to show you slides the whole time. I'm actually going to show you my real workspace so that you know that I live by what I'm talking about, and maybe help show you just different ways I approach organization that helps my time management and overall productivity. So are there any areas that anybody would want me to talk about? I know earlier on the phone, Yulia and I were just talking about potentially being very detailed or potentially having some perfectionism. I can talk about that for sure. But if there's anything else anybody wants to talk about specifically, happy to add.
I think it would be beneficial if you would talk about naming conventions when we name our files and references so people can find them and they show up in a logical order.
It's actually very, very important on my particular product. So, okay. Any other topics people would want me to cover? If you don't have anything right now, that's fine. And also feel free to interrupt me. Okay, this is like, I like engagement. So, all right, so let me jump in. So workplace productivity. This is my loose agenda of the areas that I want to talk about. So you can see here, like keeping your desktop clean. And I mean like digitally as well as your physical desktop. I won't be able to show you my physical desktop, but you could just know that it's very clean and organized. Your email and calendar management, managing meeting overload, which I'm sure there's not a single person who doesn't have that problem. Balancing competing priorities, because we all have 5,000 stakeholders, right? Effective delegation, managing distractions, avoiding procrastination, and committing to follow through, and then just generally your mindset around getting through your day. Okay. So maintaining a clean desktop, and this is going to be one of the first places that I share my desktop with you and an alternative. So these are like the basic rules. I know there's some people who just kind of save everything indefinitely, but you really should just think through saving the files that are required for your day-to-day work, archiving those files that you don't necessarily need day-to-day but are maybe still important, and then of course deleting unnecessary files, but also unnecessary shortcuts. Having 1,000 shortcuts on your desktop is actually very distracting and makes it harder for you to find the things that you need quickly. So I'm gonna stop sharing that screen and then show you quickly my desktop. All right. of course, everything moves like when you share and then don't share. And there it is. That's my desktop. So literally nothing is on it whatsoever except for my recycle bin. Okay. And there's a couple reasons why nothing is on my desktop. One, because I just want to make sure that my folder structure is very organized. And then two, when we add a bunch of stuff to our physical laptop or computer, the performance starts to hurt. So what I do instead, and I don't know if everybody use Microsoft Teams or whatever like work chat collaboration tool that you use, I'm sure has the same features. So in Teams, I created my own personal channel. So I have channels, you can see here, I have like 100 channels, but my own personal channel is where I keep all of my stuff. And then these are my folders. So then within those folders, you can see, then I have like additional folders. So everything is very clean and organized. And I know where to get to it. And then Dia, to your point, you can see everything is named in a way that it's going to be, I know exactly where to go very fast to think about it at all. Okay, let me go back to the
Love it.
presentation.
And there's an advantage to doing that. It's now backed up if you have it in Teams.
It is backed up. Yeah, so I will
And you have
always,
version control.
you do. Yeah, I will always preach like put your stuff in the cloud because there's so many benefits to it outside of the performance like I mentioned in what you guys are saying right now. Yeah. Okay. Right. Sharing the wrong screen, I do believe. Okay. All right. So moving along. Okay, so mastering your daily tools. So I have a personal story about mastering your daily tools. And what I mean by daily tools is like your Outlook, if you use Teams, if whatever your like actual product is that you work on, and whatever your project management tool is that you work on. So at my job, I am the one that's responsible so we use Azure DevOps for our project management tool. And I am the Azure DevOps guru at work. And so everybody comes to me to figure out how to use ADO. And I got to tell you, some of the questions are extremely fundamental things that you should know about the tool. So when you have a tool that's like Azure DevOps or whatever project management tool you're using, like Jira or whatever it is, become a master of that tool. You use it every day. You should know that thing inside and out. And the reason for that is because it will save you so much time and effort doing your work because it's probably where you spend the majority of the time outside of like the actual product you're working on if you have a product. So knowing it really well just saves you a significant amount of time and you don't have to like try to figure out ways to get the information you need that's different than the way the tool intended you to use it. Like you're working harder, not smarter. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. I can tell you, like, I work on a program with 900 people, which is massive, right? And the number of questions that I get on a daily basis of like, how do I do this extremely simple thing that I am like, you should really know that? And your day must really be hard because you don't know that. It's kind of shocking to me. I still help, of course, but it is a little bit shocking what people don't know. Yes, thank you, Alicia. It is truly shocking. And then I see ways that people set up like their space because they don't know how to do the thing that's out of the box, which is actually significantly easier. So just be a master of your tools is my point. Okay. So mastering Outlook for effective time management. I'm obviously not going to read through every single one of these, but I am going to talk about it. So I would say that my number one piece of advice for mastering Outlook is actually when you go in and spend time looking at your emails. So what my kind of general rule for myself is I start work 20 minutes before my first meeting if I have a meeting at the time that I'm expected to start work. So if I'm expected to start work at 8 a.m. Eastern, I hop on about 7:40 so that I'm not starting my day immediately in a meeting. Because then you guys know it's like all downhill from there, right? You're probably in like 57 meetings the rest of the day, and it's impossible to get caught up. So what I do, and I'm very strategic about my order of operations in the morning. So what I do is I first pull up my emails. I go through all of them, make sure if I have any action items, I just address those right away. If possible, obviously, or just make sure that my emails are all accounted for. I do not open Microsoft Teams until the very last step, because as soon as people know that you're on and you're available, here come the pings. And then it's hard to get back to your emails or the other things that you need to do to just be prepared for the day, right? So you want to just kind of get that stuff out of the way. And then my other rule is I am a huge set up rules in email fan. We get a significant amount of emails just for my program alone that I truly don't care about. So honestly, I have a rule and I set them straight to the trash because I don't need to see them. But unfortunately, there's just so many of us that are a big part of like many distribution lists. So we get a significant amount of emails, but I really don't care. So I just send them straight to the trash. I also have rules set up for the other stuff. Like I work for Deloitte. So Deloitte sends out a whole bunch of emails too. So I send all of those emails to the Deloitte company folder and go look at those when I have time. Although most of the time I have time. So, but it is a rule that I set up. And the reason is because you don't necessarily need to see those right away. You can check them when it makes the most sense for you to check them, right? That's not part of your day to day. So my rule for emails is 0 inbox. The only thing I ever keep in my inbox are my action items if I have a follow-up. So this is another place where I'm gonna show you my other screen. And I'm gonna cover a couple of things while I'm sharing this because my next slide is gonna be on calendar management. So you can see I have no emails. I have one email that's in my me folder because tomorrow I have to follow up with that email. So that's the only reason I have an active email or like an unread email showing. But my rule is no emails. And the reason why I keep no emails in my inbox is because I don't want to have to sift through them to find the email that I'm looking for. And again, Thea, I think this ties back to your naming convention thing. Like, even though it's not specifically naming, you're categorizing your emails into folders that make sense for them so that you can easily go find them later if you need to. All right, so while I'm showing out,
Good job.
while I'm showing Outlook, and I can tell you the only reason I can always keep it empty is because I spend that time before my like day officially starts going through the emails in the morning. So while I'm in Outlook, I want to show you the other way that kind of keeps me on track as far as like meetings go, and I'm going to show you a heavier week. So I use color coding. Color coding is like my favorite thing because I can look at my whole week at a glance and see exactly what I have going on that week without having to think about it. So I know every single meeting that's in yellow, that's a leadership meeting. So I know when my leadership calls are going to be. These kind of like dark blue, uh, these are all my one-to-ones that I have that week. The dark gray are all my team. So I am the leader of a group of 48 product owners. And I meet with their individual teams monthly. So these gray meetings are my monthly meetings with them. So just to make sure that I know exactly what I should be expecting each day, for me to avoid so much context switching is for the can you guys hear me okay? I just got your internet is unstable.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, thank you. So another thing that's really helpful for me to avoid so much context switching is I kind of have rules for the meetings that I have influence and control over on when they actually happen. So these monthly meetings that I was just telling you about only happen the fourth week of the month. So when I asked all the teams to set up their calls, I was like, okay, you're going to set up these calls for the fourth week of the month. I don't want them to be happening like every single week of the month because then my brain is all over the place. And then I also have all of my one-to-ones every week. Oh, okay, maybe are only on Thursday. So you see I have all back-to-back one-to-ones. And the reason that I do this is truly just to avoid context switching so much. It's very hard to go from meeting to meeting to meeting, and every meeting is a different topic, and it's hard to your mind can't catch up, right? And you're like you feel like you're flailing a little bit, and you don't want to feel like that. So if you have any influence or control in the meetings that are set up, by all means try to schedule them in such a way where you don't have so much context switching. Any questions, comments, thoughts about that?
I think you're
Well,
really smart for being aware of context switching because that's the thing that throws us, and we're not even
Yeah.
aware of it unless you've thought through it.
Yeah, well, when my brain isn't working and I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place, that's when I knew. So originally I had meetings I had meetings like just all over the place. My one-to-ones were all over the place, and I noticed I was really struggling when I got to the one-to-ones to focus on what they wanted to talk about because I was like still stuck in the last meetings. So I reached out to my team and I was like, hey guys, I think that so that I am performing better for you and being a better leader to you, let's have all of our one-to-ones on Thursdays. It can be every week, but let's just have them all on Thursdays because I am like a hot mess by the time I'm getting to your one-to-ones, and I don't want to do that to my team. So yeah, it definitely takes mindfulness and awareness for sure. But it is something, so everything that I'm talking about today, 100% is mindfulness. Like just how you approach your day is mindfulness for sure. So I see some messages, so I just want to take a quick look. So balancing teams with daily workload. I do believe I'm going to touch on that. Okay.
Someone's got a ring.
Yeah. Do you use
I
a tool
recognize it.
do you use a tool to manage your time spent, like capacity planning for multiple projects? We use Azure DevOps for that. So I'm not I personally don't have to do that kind of capacity planning anymore in a particular tool just because now I'm the leader of the team. So I'm not, it's a little bit different. I kind of have to just do that on my own. I don't really track it in a tool anymore, but overall our team uses Azure DevOps for that. Yes, you are not the only one getting spammed by your company.
I bet you that we have people that don't know what Azure DevOps means.
Okay.
If they've seen that, it's fancy sounding words.
It's a project management tool. So let me show you.
It's Microsoft's Jira. Everybody,
It is.
unfortunately,
It's
everybody knows
Microsoft's.
Jira.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It puts it in good frame.
Yeah, I can show you guys that in a little bit. I'll talk about it.
Okay.
I love Azure. So I used to, I don't know if anybody knows TFS. Maybe you know it by
Team
TFS.
Foundation Server. What?
Yeah. Yes. So TFS is like way back in the day, and it's called Azure DevOps now because it's had like 25,000 like updates, you know? So they've renamed it. So that's the only reason I know it so well actually is because I've been using TFS for such, I originally was using TFS. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So actually, I skipped a couple slides just because they were about the calendar, and I didn't think it was necessary to show the actual slide itself. So this is kind of more, sorry, click happy. This is more on using Microsoft Teams or whatever your chat collaboration tool is that your company uses. I imagine they all have the same type of features. This is what I showed you, but organizing your teams and your channels. So keep your teams and your channels well organized. So they're the teams and channels that I have to use every single day. I have them pinned to the top. You may have noticed when I was showing you all the tools, all the teams that I am a part of, the rest are hidden because I don't need to look at those every day. So in the activity, if anything comes up in any of those teams, an activity notification will show and will let me know if I need to read it or not. For the majority of the time, I don't need to read through them. So I just hide them and kind of just get them out of the way so I'm not distracted by them. So your status and availability. If there's time where you like really need focus time, you should be able to put yourself as like do not disturb or busy or whatever. And I know that not everybody pays attention to that or cares that you have your status set as that. But at least start, right? When you have yourself on do not disturb, it does help. It is better than busy if you really truly need that focus time and you don't want the notifications to bother you. It is an option. Muting conversations and channels. I have many chats muted because some of them just go on and on and on. And that is extremely distracting, right? In addition to that muting that, and I oddly don't have it on here. So in addition to the muting conversations and channels, the notifications that you get that don't just appear in the tool itself, but appear on your desktop or like come up on your screen, turn those off. Those are extremely distracting. You don't need to know what messages are popping up all day long. It is very hard to focus on the work that you want to get done when these little things are just popping up at you all day. But if you leave the notifications where it just like shows a little 1 or 2 or whatever the number is like in the activity, or it just lights up the icon, that's enough for you to know that you have something. And turn off the sounds. You definitely don't need the sounds. Those are extremely annoying and distracting. So all of these little things lead to making it harder for you to be as productive as you can be. All right.
So you don't have all these apps on your phone running 24/7?
No, I do not have a single not a single app on my phone makes a sound except for phone and messages. That's it.
No, but I mean, you don't have Teams and all that
Oh.
stuff installed?
So I have two phones. Two phones. One is for work, which when I'm at work I really don't need, so it just kind of stays on silent. The only time I need that is if I plan to step away from my desk, and that's when I turn on the sound, but other than that, all silent. I refuse to be bombarded by notifications. Because also, like, it's tempting for you to check it. Bob is taking a nap. I love it.
He's listening.
He's listening. I guarantee it.
You're on mute,
You're
Bob.
on mute.
He's at a rest stop on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I commend him for joining, but we're good.
No, that I know. I just thought that was hilarious. I've been there many times, Bob. Many, many times. Okay, so back to overcoming like meeting burnout. So we talked about the group like meetings to avoid the context switching, which I promise you it is so helpful, and you will thank yourself so much when you decide to do that. Another thing is though, ask yourself, and we all know we've seen like 1,000 memes that said that could have been an email, right? But ask yourself when you're putting together a meeting, like really, does it have to be a meeting or can it just be a chat or an email?
Can I talk about that real quick, Katiya?
Please. Mm-hmm.
I've discovered that emails are poison because somebody will respond to the sender and not respond to the group, and or you get so many threads, and if you're trying to keep track of everybody's comments and decisions, it's impossible. If you will put that in a Teams group and say all of our conversation about this topic happens here, and if you have something to link it here, that way you don't have the same problems you do with the email.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And that's what I was going to say too. If it is a large group like that, do a chat. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
because
there's more
people
accountability with the chat too, because you can again see the
the
history.
trail. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the emails, I actually personally don't send that many emails. Most of my conversations are in chat. Although because we've really largely moved away from emails, our chats are really overwhelming, which is why I mute half of them. Because I don't necessarily need to know like every single word that's happening in every single chat. But yeah.
One more thing about having a chat is we're in another group, we're talking about building team camaraderie and shared experience. Having a chat with just, a couple of people in your team, somebody will say, "What's the best pun you've ever heard?" Or, "What are you having for dinner?" Just something so that y'all can have a conversation, especially as if we're virtual. It gives you a way to get to know each other just a little bit better. And for the people that want to participate, they can. For the people that don't want to or don't have bandwidth, they don't have to. But those team chats have a purpose, but you got to be clear on the purpose initially, or they turn into, other stuff.
And another good reason for naming convention.
Naming
Say the
conventions
purpose of.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Alicia,
can give you a story about that. We actually have a chat just for our data group that we started before COVID, and it it just blossomed into this wonderful thing. But you have to mute it because every once in a while you'll get 2 or 3 people supporting each other, talking back and forth, and yeah, it'll just ding 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 all day long. But it has turned out it's actually one of the successful things of our company and our particular data team, because we can post a question out there if we run into a problem, and we can usually get an answer within an hour. And that's like unheard of in most consulting companies. Most people will struggle for days trying to get a solution to a particular problem, and we have this beautiful chat channel that just works great for that. And we have a lot of experience where they just, you get an answer fairly quickly. most of the time. It's awesome.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us interject.
No, please. I love interjections. So, Alicia, I saw your comment. We actually only keep our chats for 30 days but by the time 30, it's very, like, whatever happened 30 days ago is very out of date at that point. So it tends to be okay.
Well, I can say unless you're in an industry where you need tracking capabilities, I haven't heard of the 30 days, to be honest. We keep ours
Mhm.
forever, but it might not be a bad thing.
That's a storage decision. It
Yeah,
reduces the storage effort.
Yeah.
storage
Yeah.
is cheap though.
So I see this comment. Some people don't communicate well through chat. My coworker spent all day trying to get a straight answer from one user. If it's a user issue, that's probably a meeting, like share screen meeting type of thing. That's why.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So the last 2 points is just, if you are going to hold a meeting, make sure that you have an agenda and you stick to the agenda. Hold people accountable to sticking to the agenda, because some people will definitely go down rabbit holes and keep you there forever. So that really goes with, keeping it short and focused. I think we all need a babysitter every once in a while to keep us on track. So this, I actually added this balancing deadlines and best practices because my team brought it up to me that this is something that they struggle with, particularly. So we're a very deadline driven product, but I am always preaching best practices. So because a lot of my team are not masters of their tools, they actually do struggle with making sure that they're following the best practices, but still meeting all of these date cutoffs that we have. And honestly, I would just say this, after observing them and being their leader for such a long time now, I know that it's that particular person's way of how they manage their day, of why they're struggling with this. Actually gonna have the same conversation with them. So it's just breaking down your tasks to manageable stuff, right? So I don't know if anybody else uses a piece of paper or however you track like the tasks that you have for the day, but prioritizing your tasks so that you know really what you have to do today versus some other day, and making those tasks small enough that you actually can complete them with quality. And the reason why quality is so important, because obviously you don't want to go back and do it again, because then that takes even more time, right? And at the end of the appendix, actually, I'm going to show the Eisenhower box and the Pareto principle. If you guys don't know what that is and you have any questions, I'll show you in just a little bit. But more about prioritizing your work. So prioritizing can be challenging, especially when you have a lot of stakeholders that give you priorities, because every stakeholder believes that their ask is the first priority, and they don't know that you also have like 15 other stakeholders that also believe that their ask is the first priority. So it gets very difficult to prioritize, right? When you have so many competing priorities. I would say the number one thing is don't be afraid to ask. Either if you have like a role leader like I am, you can come to somebody like me. If you have like a physical team leader, you can ask the team leader. I have always been the kind of person who will get my stakeholders in a call together and say, hey, you all have these priorities. I want you all to hear them because you're going to help me prioritize them. That doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and it does help because they don't know that these other stakeholders are asking you to do these very important things too. And it gives them the opportunity to weigh their ask against the others. And then obviously communication, right? It's always best to be transparent. So if you really are struggling with your priorities, don't just sit back and like struggle through it. Communicate with your team, communicate with your stakeholders, let people know what you have going on. They will appreciate that so much rather than you just sitting back being quiet, maybe not making a deadline or just struggling through it. No one wants anybody to struggle through their workday. At least I hope not. Oh yeah, it'll be hilarious to have all your managers in one meeting. Yes. Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. The first few times you do it, it'll probably feel a little clunky, but it does get easier because then they understand that everybody is giving competing priorities and it's on them to figure it out. All right.
I love that statement. It's their job to figure it out. It's not your job to try to negotiate with each one and go back and forth between, 6 people.
Right.
Put them in a room.
Put them in a
Whoever
room.
wins this Thunderdome,
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. And that room could be a meeting, it could be a chat, it could be whatever the room looks like for you based on those priorities. But yeah, do it. Like let them know. Like, hey guys, you guys are all coming at me with different stuff and you all want it done at the same time. Like it's impossible. So based on this list of stuff I have, what's the most important? And they will be helpful. They'll negotiate with each other. Oh, you always said you could work under pressure. Yeah. And multitasking. I'm gonna get to multitasking in a minute because everybody always wants you to multitask and it's terrible actually. Okay. So delegating.
Oh,
So I have a question for you guys. Like, how many of you actually can delegate to somebody else? Or is your work your work? You can just do like thumbs up or thumbs down if you want.
sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I know for some people who actually can delegate. Okay, thank you. For the people who actually can delegate, I know not everybody can, there is nobody to delegate to, but for the people who can delegate, I know a lot of people actually struggle with delegation. Uh but and it's for different reasons. It's either like a control thing or you just feel like you can get it done faster. There's a lot of different reasons why people struggle with delegating. But when you don't delegate and you try to take everything on yourself, it just becomes a burden and it gives you too much to do. So don't be afraid to delegate. If it's somebody that you're delegating to is like new to that task or whatever, it may take you training them a little bit and it might seem like a heavy lift up front, but down the line it'll pay off. Cliff, I think you were going to say something and I think I interrupted.
No, what you just said is perfect. Sometimes you have to handhold and it'll pay
Yeah.
off later on.
Yeah. Yep.
And sometimes
Oh,
I'm the
yeah.
one getting held. So yeah, it works both ways.
I would also encourage you, if you're delegating, if you're training somebody else how to do something, that you loop in your common manager just to say, this is the status, this is what I've taught them to do. They've been shown how to do all this. That will keep them from saying, I don't know, oh, I didn't get it,
Mhm.
It creates accountability.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah, so I see Jillian your comment about being an interim product owner. It was hard delegating as we had new BAs. Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Like you definitely have to do a little bit of training up front. And like we were saying, it definitely is a heavy lift up front, but it pays off. Definitely pays off. And it also like as far as like your accountability statement, it also provides ownership, right? When people feel like they're contributing more to your project or your product or whatever your team is, it gives them a sense of ownership as well. So it's positive for a lot of people. It just got very, very dark in my room. I think I already talked about the managing distractions, but what I wanted to talk about a little bit more was now that we're like mostly working from home, it's also managing the distractions you have from home and setting those boundaries with your family members and maybe your pets. Because I don't know about your pets, but every time I'm on the video for some reason, my cats feel like they should jump up right here to participate in the video. So I have to like set those boundaries with them. And obviously with cats, it's a little bit harder, but I do set the boundaries with them. And when my son is home from school, I do set boundaries with him too. Like, I will let you know when I'm free. Do not try to come talk to me the whole day. Because he definitely in the past tried. I would be on a meeting and he would be standing like behind my laptop for where I used to sit. When he's home, I have to sit in the dining room. So I'm like, can't hide anywhere. Because right now I sit in his room while he's gone. But when he's home, he'll stand behind my laptop and just stare at me until I acknowledge his existence. And I could be on a meeting. Like it doesn't matter what I'm doing. He didn't care. And so I finally was like, okay, like if I am in a meeting, you cannot stand behind the laptop and just stare at me. I'm obviously not going to help whatever it is that you need at that moment. So I had to set boundaries with him. And I think it's fair to tell your family, hey, these are my working hours. These are my super busy times where I'm probably going to be in meetings like back to back, or I really need this like focus time right now. And I have to set this boundary. So even like when my son would want to watch TV, he has TV in his room, but he would want to watch TV in the living room. And for me, it makes it very hard to work when there's loud noises in the back. So I had to tell him, hey, during this time to this time, if you want to watch TV, you have to be in your room. You can't be out here. I can't focus, right? So don't feel bad. It's okay. You're allowed to set boundaries with your family too, as well as your team members. Another big boundary for me, I know I saw somewhere in here, somebody had meetings all day and then you have to work late. It is really hard when you have meetings all day. I never work late. I never work late. I start at 8, I get off at 5. If I couldn't finish what I had to do that day, which is and I'm not bragging, but never, just because I manage my time so effectively, but I am not working past 5. Like the company, that's my boundary with the company, because as soon as you start working late, you loosen that boundary and they know that you work late and they will take advantage of it. So you just have to know, based on your task list, how do you prioritize your task list for the week so that you can actually get done everything you need to get done based on the priorities of that day.
That
Katiya, what do
sounds
you think?
great, but I've got projects in multiple time zones sometime. The project I'm on right now, everybody's in Seattle. It's actually directly for Microsoft. So, and I'm in Florida. It is
Yeah.
very hard
That's different. Yeah.
with the time zones,
Yeah.
not to
Right.
work. I do try and wake up later and work later. I do
Yeah.
try to adjust it that way, but it could be. And then I've been on projects where one's in the East Coast and one's in the West Coast, and that's even worse.
Yes.
Or
So
God
that,
forbid
yeah,
you have
I agree.
offshore. We haven't even talked about offshore. That
Yeah.
gets really ugly.
What do you think about scheduling heads downtime? I mean, putting
Yeah.
it on your calendar like it's a block. This is what I'm doing during this time, but it's blocked.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's what you need to like, because you know that your calendar is going to get filled up if you don't, by all means, schedule focus time. Yes, definitely. But Cliff, I do agree with you. I think that there's adjustments. Like, obviously I work 8 to 5. I have those traditional hours now. I did not used to have those traditional hours. So I can say I used to work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. because all of my team was it was actually from Singapore to me. So I had to be able to meet with that person. So when I say like boundaries for your hours, I don't necessarily mean your hours are my hours. I'm just using my example, right? But you still have to set your boundaries. So Cliff, you made a good point. You say, you know, you're going to work a little later, so you start a little later. That's perfect. You're still setting your boundaries. You obviously, based on the time zones of the folks that you work with, are going to be flexible with that time. But I'm just saying, don't work like 50 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, set your boundaries. Because if you just continuously work and work, or you work on the weekends, they're going to take advantage of that. And then you don't have any time for yourself. You don't have any time to come down. You don't have time to like re-energize for the next week. Burnout. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And our company does try and do that. It does try to work out. They enforce it. Like if you got to work a weekend, they want you to take 2 days off or 3 days off during the week.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing data migrations and those kinds of things, you know, those are things that happen on a weekend or at
Right.
night or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, they do try and do that. It's the clients that are usually more of a problem, not our
Yeah.
company. But
Right. Yeah, so like we just had a release. So we just went to production over the last weekend. So right, obviously we're not going to production every weekend, but we know that we're gonna have to work a weekend at some point because we have to release our product, right? I'm definitely not talking about those scenarios where it's like that's part of your job. You're gonna do it. You have the perfect example, Cliff. You know you have to do data migrations on the weekend or at night while the users are not using the system.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. There's always the caveats and the nuances to whatever your particular team does. Okay. Any questions, comments? Anybody have like this particular thing works really well for me of anything that we've talked about so far? Okay.
I will
don't
say if I
have
ever had to go back to the office, I don't think I could do it. I really don't.
So I have
It-
co-location next week. We do co-location once a month now. And I'm telling you, the mental preparation that I have to go through to like know that I am about to be in the office for an entire week is crazy. And then I don't want to like leave my house for like a month after that. It's so crazy working from home and not expending all that energy that you do when you're in the office. It's crazy. Yeah. I think
Well, and the
Danny.
commute. I don't know about you, but you know, the commute when it's an hour long, you know, that's 2 hours of your day. You
Yeah.
can get. I'd rather give the company 2 hours than sit in the car and drive.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have to look at my calendar for the next week and then say, for that meeting, what do I have to prepare, and set it up like a project management schedule. You know, it's like, okay, I need 2 hours to prepare this. So when am I going to get it done before the meeting? And do I need to have anybody look at it before the meeting and all that stuff? Carl asked, do you use a tool to manage your time spent, for instance, capacity planning for multiple projects?
Yeah, I talked about that early. Oh, go ahead,
Oh, I'm
Carl.
sorry.
No, I was going to say you answered that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I just
Right.
wanted to be
Thanks for
sure.
bringing that up, Dan. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I'm with you, Thea. I do the same thing. So I have like my task list it's like few days in advance.
Right. Because sometimes I'm responsible for things that may take hours to prepare or may need people to review before I present. I have to look at things a week at a time. You know, so for the next 5 business days, what do I need to accomplish? Who do I need to have a conversation with before that meeting? You know, especially with stakeholder management, sometimes you've got people that you've got to get them happy about the project before they go into this meeting that they can influence other people.
Yep.
So you have to consider all of that prep before every single meeting.
Yep. A lot of background work. Yes, exactly. Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Yeah, he's got
Alicia
That's
says she
awesome.
sets mini sprints for herself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
your needs, and you know, here's like
Yeah, Carl. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, families are tough, right? They're pretty demanding. They're like your personal clients. Okay, so I just have a few things and I know we're kind of running out of time. So how many of you are procrastinators? Okay, so yeah, procrastination will definitely hurt your productivity, right? But we usually procrastinate because it's like something we don't want to do. So I have a couple of things that I do for the things that I want to procrastinate because we all procrastinate about something. So, if it's something that I'm like, God, I just absolutely despise this task, I don't want to do it at all ever again in my life, it's the first thing that I do. And the reason why I do it first is back to my mindfulness comment, because if you don't do it, you are not going to stop thinking about it until you do it. And so because your mind just continuously thinks about this one task, your mind isn't free to focus on the other things that you have to focus on. So just getting it out of the way clears up your mind to be able to focus on those other things and concentrate on the things that need to be done. That's my last point. Yeah, just getting it out of the way first. And obviously the satisfaction of completing it far outweighs your lack of desire to do it.
Cliff says I
You're
have
easy.
bad squirrel syndrome.
Yeah. That's why I shut off all the notifications. That's why everything is off. I'm by myself because squirrel also.
There's the theory I heard the
Hilarious.
other day that procrastination is a result of perfectionism.
Perfectionism.
You don't want to do it not perfectly, so you push it off until, and part of it may be the back of your brain is pondering through it and developing it, but it still distracts you.
Yes. Yep. I actually wrote about that. You know, I'm going to plug my blog at the end.
I was waiting for that. I was going to encourage you if you didn't.
Yeah. So I think actually this is the one of my last things. So committing to follow through. So you don't want other people to have to wait on you either. You know, for you, it's very frustrating to have to wait on people, but you also don't want to be one of those people that people have to wait on. So make sure what you are setting for yourself every day is realistic. I love the short mini sprints for yourself. It's actually how I run my whole life. I always make a joke, and I know, Bob, you have on your website that you're Lean Six Sigma. I make a joke that I was born Lean Six Sigma and my whole life has been agile. So, yeah, I love that you said that. So, yeah, so then just adding on to it, you know, you don't want people to wait. So just complete your tasks. Don't wait to do them, and respond to emails and chats timely. I think we had a couple conversations like it's very hard to get people to respond sometime. Like, don't be that guy, you know? So the myth of multitasking. The multitasking is back to what I was saying earlier. It's just context switching all the time, and your brain was not made for that. Your brain is made to focus. So you actually produce better quality work when you focus. You know, when you're multitasking, you are really not paying attention to one of the two things that you're working on. And your quality, you do tend to have to go back and fix some things or read some things because your quality probably was questionable because you were constantly context switching.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody tell me the other day, it's like, well, if you need more time to do your work, do it while you're in the meetings. And it's like, that's not an answer either. Because how many
Right.
times have you called on somebody in a meeting and they're like, oh shit, I wasn't paying attention. Can you repeat that?
Yes. And that's
Right.
so annoying, right?
It is. It is.
It's
So I
very
try not
annoying.
to be that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's super annoying when you have to repeat yourself to the person who was multitasking and everybody else on the call is paying attention. So that's such a waste of time for everybody else on the call.
It's demoralizing to the people that are on the call. It's like, are we not important enough for you to pay attention to
Pay
us?
attention. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not
agreed.
what you want to do to your team.
Right. Right. All right. So there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Busy just means you're just constantly doing stuff, but the task that you're doing may not be of the highest value or the highest priority or align really with what the priorities are of your project, right? So just be mindful of those things that you're doing, and I will preach mindfulness forever. But I will always say just make sure you're working smart, not hard. Don't do more than you need to, do what you need to. And as long as you're being mindful of those activities that you're doing and how you're planning out your days, that becomes very easy. That's just kind of like now that we're here, but I wanted to show you these two. This is the Pomodoro. This is the Eisenhower thing that I had mentioned in an earlier slide of a way that you can prioritize your day. So I'll just let you guys read through that for a minute. It's just how you determine, like, here's the activities that I have to do. I'm going to prioritize the activities based on these kind of prompts. And then second, this is actually specifically for procrastinators. This is the Pomodoro method. So what it says is you allocate 25 minutes to a particular task. You take a break, and then you allocate, it's like a 5 or 10 minute break, and then you allocate the next 25 minutes to your next task, and you just kind of keep doing this like focus time break, obviously between your meetings, because this doesn't work in meetings, but it's just a way to help you take those focus minutes and to get your tasks done in a timely manner. So having said all of that, I'm going to plug my blog really quick because I do talk about perfectionism. I do talk about procrastination. I give a lot of other ways to help manage your time and your tasks. Okay. So here is my blog. And so, of course, because I was talking about mindfulness and how important mindfulness is, and your awareness of how you go about your day is super, super important. That's what my first few blogs were about. And then, just having a routine, whether that routine is at home or at work, is extremely beneficial. But here is, a whole post on procrastination and why people procrastinate. There's actually a lot of different reasons why people procrastinate. And then I know we talked about the product or the perfectionism. I think actually the perfectionism is part of this procrastination. So we do yeah. Here's again the Pomodoro technique. Well, I don't remember where I put the perfectionism, but it is in here. So there's just a lot of information on like practical tips to, have good time management, have good task management, which is not necessarily the same thing, and letting like those energy suckers and those distractions, they're kind of all related. So I can share the link in this chat so that you guys can take a look if you want to. I will note that I am actually ending the productivity topic in May. I think I've covered all of the productivity things I could possibly talk about. I don't know what else there is to talk about. And I'm going to move on to a completely different, unrelated topic in May, but there's a lot of really good information in there if you're interested in checking it out.
Sounds wonderful. Everybody give her some thank yous in the chat.
Thank
You've
you.
given us some really good stuff. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Let me share my screen real quick. I want to show y'all. If you're not a member of our IIBA group, you're welcome to join us here. This is where Cliff puts all of the notifications and updates for our activities in our group. So this is our home group on LinkedIn. We welcome you to join us here. We will be back next week to talk about nearshore development so you can understand the difference between onshore, nearshore, and offshore development for software. And we will see you then. Y'all have a fantastic week.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
See you next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.